of just doing a little bit of a rundown for some people that don't know how to use or attach some of these implements. Yep, there's lots of us out there that are doing the same thing. I'm just going to give you a rundown on the brand new tractor that we got from Nicholas Machinery with a whole heap of different attachments, which we'll go through one at a time over a bit of time here and actually put each and every one of the attachments on. Now, as you would have just, this is a 5-tine ripper implement on the back here. At the moment you can see I've only got 3 of the actual rippers in here at the moment. Reason for that being, because I had a little bit of matted grass, it was literally bunching it straight up and just making a big ball here and wasn't going through like it should do. So when we're unattaching the whole entire unit, you've got pins that have also got smaller pins. These are a locator pin and these are a fastener pin or a safety pin. Basically what happens with them, once you've aligned and put your implement in the right position where it's got to go, you have to adjust your arms accordingly so they fit inside, not on either side, but inside the actual area for the pins to go through. And you'll notice here that you have 2 spots where you can put your actual implements through, depending on the size of the pins that you've got to which one you can use. With mine, I've just used the top one, but if I had larger pins, which would generally be the category 2 pins, these are category 2 as well, and category 1, but they fit in there quite nicely, and they're the pins that came with it. So I've literally put it in through the top one there, and then basically what you do is you get your locator pin, and there are a couple of different varieties. And as you've put it through and you've aligned and adjusted on the sides here, you basically put the pin in, goes like that so it doesn't come in and out, okay? But do not stick your fingers through like this. Again, I'm doing this because this one's already located, it's not going to move. Because you try and put your finger through there to move the little ball socket there with your finger and it moves, it will literally cut it off like a pair of shears. Do not put your finger through there putting these units on or off. You will come a cropper, you'll lose your finger. As you can see, it does do quite a lot of damage when you do silly things. So as it goes through as well, we've got 1 pin in, we go to the other side, we basically do the same as well. And again, making sure you have your adjustments from side to side so there's not too much slop and movement. And then you also need to make sure that these are adjusted so when it comes down it sits relatively flat, okay? Again, as flat as you can get. It's never going to be picture perfect, but that's the way it happens. So next one in as well, and you're best off to put these in there and actually best as you can locate them that way. But as you're moving along, they will do this. No ifs, no buts. On the top here is also your top linkage. They're your 2 bottom linkages. On your top linkage, as you can see, it's moved a little bit. Now, this was preset a little while ago for this particular implement. And you can see at the back here where I've got a foot that holds this implement on as well, holds it relatively straight. So what I'm going to do is literally lean on this a bit and lean it forward, and it's going to pivot. And basically all I'm doing here, this is a larger pin, it doesn't fit in the top holes like it does on those ones. So all I'm doing, I'll do it from this side, make it easier for you, is literally putting it through like so. Again, don't put your finger in there because if it moves, you will lose a finger or definitely damage a finger. Do not do that, please. So as it goes along with your top linkage here, you have the ability to undo the large nuts and adjust in or out, which will literally give this unit how far it does or doesn't sit forwards or backwards. Your best way in which to run this unit is parallel, straight up and down, as best as you can do with what you're doing, and leaving it where it's level on the ground. But what you have to watch is once you put it in and you're starting to rip, if you may need to adjust it because it's nice and level here now, but once it goes down from here and down further, it sometimes tilts the teeth through the tines through and they actually tilt forward. You need to have them set so they will actually rip fairly straight, not tilted and forward, because you won't get the full depth of the actual rippers there as well. So basically, as it goes along, that's all you basically need to do with that. Now, one thing on the rippers as well, you can see that you've actually got 1, 2, 3 different settings here. Oh, I lied, 4 different settings there. So this will enable how high or low that you will actually rip the ground as you're going through. And you need to set this accordingly to what you wish to do, okay? With what I'm doing, because the ground I'm working on here has never been worked before. The last thing that was on here was some cows. The time before that, they had forestry here. There is a number of rocks and also still a number of tree stumps through this area as well. Some of them are under the ground and we won't see until we hit them, unfortunately. Hopefully we don't do too much damage to the actual machinery and the tractor. Okay, so once that's in and on and done, and again, use a hammer as you go through if you need to tap the pins in or out. If it's too tight, you need to adjust, okay? So you're not using too much time and effort and all that as it goes through. But again, don't put your finger through the hole, you'll cut it off. Now, with this particular implement here, it has no greasing nipples on it whatsoever, although the back of the tractor actually does. But again, you've got your greasing points on the back and all that through here on your arms and all that as it goes through. And there's a lot in there. We won't go into that today because for setting up and using this implement, you do not need it. You do the greasing and all that on your regular basis when you're going through and checking your tractor, always. Every certain amount of hours that you use it, every time you use it, if it's sitting there for quite a while, it might be a good idea just to check to make sure that the rain hasn't penetrated into some of your actual pivot points that need and require grease, okay? So once I start the unit up, I'll basically lift the unit up and I'll come back out and I will relocate the foot basically for holding this unit upright so it hopefully doesn't fall over when you're moving around. Please be careful as well if you have children around the place, because kids have a tendency to lean on things and make things fall over or play on them or swing on them. So I'll just start up the tractor and we'll lift this up and then we'll go down the paddock and we'll make a mess. Okay, this is another pin, just a normal little pin. You can get them near anywhere. There's whole different sizes of these as well. Basically all we do is just take it out, undo it, lift it up. It has another locating here, hold down the bottom for its raised position, and just wiggle it a little bit to get it into the right position, put it in and through, push it through. Now, at the moment, the whole entire unit's in its actual highest position. Don't try and overstretch it and make the hydraulics work much more than they do, because they'll only go so far and that's it anyway. Any further than that, you can risk doing damage to your actual hydraulics and your hydraulic system. Again, if you're new at this, you're going to find all this out as time moves along. Okay, let's go for a drive down the paddock. As I said earlier on, I had this unit on here previously and I had everything set up for it, but what I've actually noticed is one of the adjustment arms on this side here. If you'd like to come in and have a look, one of the adjustment arms to raise it up and down, to actually tilt how this would work. If you're using a blade, raising one up and one down would literally tilt the blade one way or the other. This isn't a normal grading blade. We're trying to rip here. So what I've got to do here is literally come along. Whoop, helpful if I did it up. And actually readjust it. Again, it hasn't moved. but you can measure it from there to the bottom of the nut or the top of the nut if you wish on either side to make sure it's level. And this happens to everyone at some point. So give it a good tighten. Everything else seems to be in the right place without any problems and hassles. What we're going to do at the moment here, I've only got the 3 rippers on. As I was saying, because I haven't cut the soil or disturbed the ground like I have with some of this, it's going to bunch up with the 5 of them in there. But what I'm going to do is literally put the 5 back in so you can see them bunching up and so you can understand what I'm doing with it. So these are the 2 that were originally in there with this unit. And again, the little clip and its locator. Come down, find where it is, slide it through. Again, don't use your finger or anything to try and locate it. Just wiggle it up and down as you locate it yourself. And underneath, you've got the hole here. You literally just put it in and raise it up and just jiggle it a bit till you get it through. I'm actually going to put it this way. Makes it easier for me. And just push them through till they're halfway through. Okay, so I'm going to get on the actual tractor now. And as you can see, the ground here has been a little bit ripped up. But further down in front of the tractor, it hasn't been at all. So you'll physically see what I'm talking about bunching up. Although, if it doesn't bunch up, it might make me look like a little bit of an idiot, but that happens as well. Few seconds here, I put the rippers down and you would have even seen the wheels spinning a little bit. We've had considerable amount of rain here, so it's not exactly what you call perfect conditions to be doing this. So I've had to raise it and lower it a little bit. Again, this ground has never been worked either, but having a little bit extra moisture around, it's just like having slick tyres on the road. Put the foot down, spin the wheels and you don't go anywhere. Same with the paddock, no different. A little less horsepower though. But as you can see here, this is a prime example. It ripped quite all right, and you can see where it's ripped chunks up, which isn't too bad. But you can also see where I had to raise, where it was spinning, I had to actually raise the actual rippers themselves because I didn't have enough traction. Now sometimes you can have extra weights on the front and have it in 4-wheel drive. You also have it in the lowest gear possible, so you can get hopefully the best traction and the best depth rip in one go. You can't always achieve that, so you may have to do it multiple times. But as it goes through, you'll see here quite clearly, whereas it was ripping along, it just bunches it straight up. Because the root systems on this haven't broken up, there are some sections that have, as you can see, very large root systems. You'd sometimes try to go through here with some disc harrows first if you could. I'm doing this for a specific purpose, just to show you what can happen. As it goes through though, this is what happens when you've got too many rippers in without having the ability to fold through. Catch-22 is that when you only have 3 rippers instead of 5, you will be ripping more ground or going over it again because you're not getting a very good ripping as it goes through to begin with at the first pass. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally Not go any further. I'm going to raise this and I'm going to take out those 2 rippers that I put in only just a few seconds ago, because this is what I don't want to have happen. I want to avoid it. Instead of moving the soil down the paddock, I want to leave it where it is. See here is I've actually got the rippers going down basically nearly right to the bottom of the bar. That works quite well, and you should have to not look back as much once you get the sweet spot, and you'll know that by the sound of your tractor and having a look a little bit in the earlier stages of where your rippers are and aren't, what depth they're at. As you can see, it's ripped quite well here. It hasn't bunched up. The problem being is that I need to come back and rip in between these. So there's a good chance I will actually come across the paddock a couple of different directions without trying to run back down these particular lines again to rip it all up. Now, once you've got it all leveled and all that as well, in the right spot and you're ripping quite well, low gear, you shouldn't have to turn around, you should just be able to keep going down the paddock. Reason you're going to have any problems and issues: rocks, stumps, buried pipe work, buried whatever under the ground. You've also got to be mindful if you have water mains or electrical mains and that running through your property, especially when they're yours or someone else's. Some places you'll have gas mains, so please be mindful when you're doing a new paddock and all that, that you also make sure that you've got none of that stuff through your paddock. Or if you do, you need to make sure you locate it before you put this through a gas main or a water pipe or even electricity. But I'll have to go back later on and probably come across the paddock a couple of different directions, so when I come through with the disc tillers, it makes turning this all up and over. We're also going to go through and show you what it is doing it with mulch boards, which will actually peel the soil over and turn the top to the bottom, so it then helps kill and smother some of these. Some of them are weeds, some of them aren't, but to kill and hopefully give you a clean, easy paddock to work with, not just now but into the future, so you're not regerminating seeds too often, so you don't have to use things such as Roundups, glyphosates or weed killers like that, or if you do, hopefully very minimum. Okay, Okay, I'll get back to you a bit later. I'm going to keep the paddock.